If you are thinking of a bank that takes care of customers' needs by providing quality services with flexibility, reliability, and innovation, think Trust Bank Limited. With Trust Bank Limited mobile banking, you enjoy services such as balance inquiry, mini statement, funds transfer between accounts, exchange rates, mobile airtime top-up, stop ATM card, checkbook request, and PIN change. Our real-time gross settlement allows the customer to instruct the bank to transfer funds from their account to another account at another bank. Our expertise and experience in international banking is both legendary and the envy of the market. Retail banking, one bank, different amazing packages. Whether you are interested in savings account, current account, time or fixed deposit account, lending or overdraft, our team of dedicated staff is always ready and willing to help you out with your transactions as you wish. Corporate banking. Trust Bank Limited offer the most convenient services for deposit accounts, credit facilities, trade finance, bond and guarantee, and foreign currency account. With e-banking, you can make electronic bill payments and online banking and enjoy 24-hour access to your cash with our ATM. With the largest network of branches and agents, we give you the convenience to receive funds as you please. Trust Bank Limited, proudly Gambian.
fay lempo warugal la ci képp koo xam ne doomi réew mi nga ak ñu fi dëkk bu fekkee ne ci at mi sa koom-koom weesu na $24,000 dalasi mbete weer bu nekk di nga am lu tollu ci $2,000 dalasi lempo si la nguur gi di sukkandeku ngir liggéey yokkute réew mi GRA mooy banxaas bu nguuri Gambia sas ngir mu fayeku lépp luy lempo ci biir réew mi ba tax na GRA di yëgal faykati lempo yi ne warugal la pour ñu fay lu ñu naan withholding tax on contract payment maanaam bépp contract bu waay joxe te ci biir réew mi lañu toog kon xaalis ci contract bi ngeen nangotoo war nga cee wàññi ci xayma téeméer bu nekk fukka bu fekkee ne contracto bi dëkkut ci biir réew mi bu boobaa di nga war a wàññi téeméer bu nekk fukka ak juróom lii mooy lempo bu ñu naan withholding tax on contract payment lii mooy lempo bi nga xam ne yow mi joxe contract warugal la nga wëlbatiku dem fay ko ci maakaani GRA tax office bu la gën a jege mbete ci banque yi GRA jagleel pour fay lempo war ngaa jébal lempo bi si diiri fukki fan ak juróom gannaaw bi nga wàññee ci xaalis si contract bi amul benn contracto bu ñu teggil fay lempo bi xanaa mu fekk ne nguuri Gambia ñoo ko jégale boole si projet yi nga xam ne mbootaay ndimbali ñoo koy dépense GRA di fayeku lempo ngir yokk.
For the first time in the history of the Gambia, Gambia Printing Publishing Corporation proudly introduces the Bibliomatic Exercise Book Printing Machine. The machine has the capacity to print more than 20,000 books per hour. Yes, 20,000 books per hour. It also prints magazines, newspapers, calendars, flyers, normal books and all kinds of printed documents plus items at affordable prices. With the Bibliomatic Printing Machine, GPPC can now render high-quality and non-size restricted printing service supply across the sub-region. Rush now and partner with GPPC for all your public and private printing service needs. Print with us today and you'd be offered highly professional, reliable and efficient service delivery by our team of experts. The Gambia Printing and Publishing Corporation is here to meet all demands and is reliable at all times. For more info, contact us on 437-4493 or 437-4402. GPPC is Gambian and it's yours.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel, Yaibara.
This is on Kerr Fatou. Fatou.
Hello and welcome to this special interview. This evening I am here in Kotu about to talk to His Excellency Lawyer Ousainu Darboe, former Vice President and Party Leader of the United Democratic Party. You all know he has been a very frequent guest on my show, the Kerr Fatou. But since the December election, we have not sat down. Now today we're going to have an in-depth conversation. What happened? The famous Kiang incident. And of course, the state of the United Democratic Party. That and other issues in the next 1 hour. But before we continue, I want to encourage all of you to hit on the star button to support Kerr Fatou. That way, we're able to bring you this and more interviews in the future. Badingolu ngal bisimilay na special interview to comme ka fale nyamin drong bi be ko tule nata Lawyer Ousainu Darboe jube United Democratic Party la nyaton ko. Ali yalonde ko Kerr Fatou mu dulalti mi yalon ko wato watin ka soto je bare kabrin December election o keta hani say mansi ta ko mata bi nga si nga kacha mu ne keta December kabri wonin bitema Lawyer Darboe mu ne kuto anin fanan UDP be mu ne kuto kacha be fanula kacha be warala woto be min folale drong in the next 1 hour al se kafuma ni natimo ni Lawyer Darboe se kacha United Democratic la pola anin banko la ko bari janin ka dun ka chakono ba fulale drong na star button also will hit nali woki wato wasi drong albe Kerr Fatou support kan directly wato saime min kala drong na tambi na futa sokono ka Lawyer Darboe jiwe habe mun kuto. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. All right.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel, Yaibara.
Welcome back after the short commercial break, and of course with me, just like I introduced earlier on, is the Lawyer Ousainu Darboe, former Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia, Secretary General and Party Leader of the United Democratic Party. Mr. Darboe, welcome to Kerr Fatou.
Thank you very much for hosting me.
It's been a while, though. 7 months.
7 months.
7 months.
That's quite a long time, huh?
Yeah.
We should. I don't think we should be that silent.
I don't know why it took that long, though. I don't know how that even happened.
Well, we remedied it anyway.
We remedied it. But how are you doing, though? The last time I spoke to you, I think you were at the hospital. That was the last time I spoke to you. How are you doing?
I'm great. I have put aside my work aid and I also put aside walking stick. I walk in a normal way, except that my right foot is, or my right leg rather, is about 1 centimeter shorter than the left. But I mean, that one, can be remedied. I just have to get the sole of my shoes, padded, so that can be taken care of. But otherwise, I'm really doing great. I climb the stairs. Sometimes I'd want to run when I'm climbing the stairs.
Actually, I saw videos of you at the village and at the shopping mall. I'm like, really, is that him?
So.
Now, we haven't spoken for 7 months, like I said earlier on. I want to take you back to Kiang. My Badibunka grandparents say, oh, Kiang called Kiang Bebua. I remember when the incident happened, people say, Kiang Bebua, I'm like a party leader. But what really happened in Kiang during the campaign? What really happened?
Well, it's hardly hard to explain. But maybe people like myself know that really something that God had ordained. Our campaign was really in very, very high gear.
Yeah.
We had a very successful meeting in Kayaf, and by 5 o'clock we break off to have lunch. After lunch, I thought that, look, this is the time that I don't have to really miss my 5 o'clock prayers. I'll just have to perform it now before I proceed to our next destination. And, after praying, I got up from the praying mat, wanting to allow Ahmad Sani also to come on to perform his prayers. And all of a sudden, I saw myself on the floor. My head hit very hard on the wall. And I wanted to get up, but I felt pain in my leg, and I said, look, maybe I have fracture. But I wasn't worried about my leg.
Yeah.
I was more worried about
your head.
My head, because I thought I might have got some internal injuries. With God's grace, not that.
Yeah.
What I had was a fracture, and Alhamdulillah, the doctors really attended to me well. The West African Holistic Center, Dr. Ding, 2 o'clock in the morning,
yeah,
he was in the hospital, to do the x-rays and so forth. And 30 minutes after, Dr. Marena was also there, but before 3 a.m. Dr. Marena was also there. I think they reviewed the x-ray and decided that, well, that should be moved to AfricMed to do the necessary surgery. Yes.
And at that point, what we saw from the campaign was being transparent. The campaign was not worried about putting that out. Were you personally worried about putting that information out, because you could have gotten people worried? Were you worried? Why were you so transparent about that incident?
I had to do that because the false information was being spread about that was already dead. There are also information that I had been thrown out of the country, that my health, my situation is so bad, anybody voting for me would be voting for a dead person. So I thought that, look, I have to really feel my supporters, I've made them feel comfortable to know that I am well, that apart from fracture, there was nothing that was wrong with me. And after all, I think we owe it also to our supporters and to the Gambian people. You see, when you attain certain status in society, just the one I have, but particularly at that situation, if my health is in question in any way, I think the people ought to know that my health situation is that. So that if my organization has to do anything, they can really get themselves ready and prepared for that. And because it will have been foolhardy for us to keep quiet about it, and something happens that was unexpected or unwanted, and then in that moment of confusion, we want to make arrangements maybe for a substitute candidate, in that state of confusion, that would be difficult. You could go on to make a wrong choice, a wrong decision. So I thought that we should just put this out to the public, and I did consult also some family, because family is very important in this matter.
Yeah.
I did consult with family and my brothers, and they agreed that, look, we should really talk to the public and let them know my state, and also to diffuse the tension, to neutralize the false information that was being spread.
I do remember your elder brother, Dr. Darboe, kept, because I was there to interview you, and he kept saying we have to be transparent. Yes. And at some point I was even worried about how they wanted everything out to the public. But that changed the strategy of your campaign, because at this point you were not able to be on the campaign grounds. You had to be in the hospital, and then campaigning from home, doing live videos. Technology started coming in. Did you think that really cost you the election? And at that point, how did your team just adjust to changing the strategy right at the hospital?
The better thing would have been for me really to come home without any incident, and then resume my campaign in the greater Banjul area without the aid of any technology. That would have been the best thing. But in the absence of that, in the peculiar situation in which I am, I thought that was really the best thing. If this had happened some 10, 15 years ago, that would have been it. I wouldn't have been heard during the entire campaign period. The rest of the campaign period, I wouldn't have been heard at all. But with this advancement in technology, I could really address supporters from my home, and even if I was in hospital, then I would have been able to address my supporters. So really, it did affect in some way our campaign. Because as they say, this falsehood, before people started to realize that it was not true, it had really spread. I mean, people who are calling my family from Woolies, from the provinces, eko lawyer ko ya samba to babu dule, lawyer ko kate asan kate besaya ni balwole tema. And of course, when you tell some of our people impart this type of information to them, they just give up. Say, well, if I don't have any candidate to vote for, I'm not going to vote. I mean, it affects their enthusiasm, it affects their morale.
So we went into the election, and the results came out. A lot of observers said UDP was overconfident. Observers said this was your closest to the presidency. A lot of people gave you the edge. They gave you UDP edge because of the crowds that were polling. What we have seen on campaign videos compared to all other candidates, you were polling better crowd than any other candidate. Even when you were home, your supporters were polling better crowd. But what happened? Was it because UDP was overconfident and were not working on the ground? Why did you lose the election?
Well, we lost the election because of cheating at the registration. Because of cheating at the registration, we had evidence of people being registered before the opening of the registration centers. Registration centers are supposed to open at 8 o'clock and close at 5 o'clock in the evening. But people have been registered as early as 7 o'clock in the morning. And people got registered even after 5 o'clock, some up to 8 o'clock in the evening. This must have been into thousands. And of course, that apart, we have evidence of people being registered after the close of registration throughout the country. So it was cheating. those Gambians, those real Gambians, who really wanted to elect a government of their own, all voted for UDP.
But some will say there was a time after the registration, there was time to go to the, how do you call it? The revising court.
Yeah.
When did you get this evidence? Was it after the elections or before?
It was after the election. You cannot, in fact, the revising court, you go to a revising court to say that the person is not qualified to be registered as a voter. One is that he has not attained the age, or two, he is not a citizen of the Gambia, or he's otherwise unqualified to be registered as a voter. But registering anybody at 10 o'clock, at 7:30, you cannot detect that. And you cannot use that as a ground for really getting the person of the register of voters. Because it's not one of the qualifications. This is assumed that the person registered within the prescribed time and within the prescribed period, not outside the prescribed time or outside the prescribed period. So when they do this cheating outside of the registration hours and outside of the registration period, you cannot detect them. Because when you expose, when you publicize or put in them in the bantabas, the list of voters, the time is not indicated there. The days are not indicated. They will just have Fatou, Lamen, voter registration number, so and so. So it was not possible to really detect that, and you cannot go to the revising court with that and say Fatou is not entitled to be registered as a voter, because even then, you wouldn't even have known that Fatou registered after the 11th of July. We didn't have known.
So you went to the court. You have always trusted our court system. You know, even when people say, let's go to the streets, let's do this, you say, I believe in the courts. Let's go to the courts. Let's test our courts. And that has been evident, the way UDP has always tested the courts. But this time, after the ruling, when the court rejected your lawyers, you made a statement. It seems like at this point you were frustrated with what came out of the courts.
My statement was not an indication of lack of confidence in the judiciary. I have always held our Gambian judiciary in very high esteem. I have always believed that our judges are men of high integrity, very erudite persons, and I have never doubted their integrity. But then there's always problems of approaches. When our action was struck out in the first instance, we thought that the judges were being very technical. They were not really looking at the substance of the claim. They were not minded to do substantial justice. It was a slavish adherence to procedural rules. And we, of course, also exploited the procedural rules that allows us to ask for a review. And we pointed out the mistakes by their lordships.
But Mr. Darboe, people say, I've seen a lot of your critics say, UDP, yourself, one of the best constitutional lawyers in this country, ever in this country. You have the lawyers like Bori Toure, Almame, Lamin Darboe. All the lawyers you think of are from UDP. But how many times we have seen cases where people say UDP always get it wrong? The case of Sirifo versus UDP, the judge, you lost that case. This case also with all the lawyers, something as serious as this election petition, that you have evidence. Why did your team got that technicality wrong?
Yes, I agree that this is some of the arguments that the people make. With the Sirifo Sonko case, I don't want to talk much about it.
Yeah.
Because the first go, I know that it was procedurally wrong for the judge on her own initiative to refer the matter to the Supreme Court. It is a party, a litigant, that has the right to ask for a matter to be referred to the Supreme Court for either interpretation of the Constitution or an enforcement of the Constitution. The court suo motu does not have that right because you are descending into the arena of conflict. In fact, even the lawyer was opposed to the matter being referred to the Supreme Court by the judge. And of course, yeah, when it went to the Supreme Court, really, the court ought to have asked themselves, has this come to us in a proper way? Because if it didn't reach them through the right procedures, they have no jurisdiction over the matter. But you see, I don't want to be seen to be litigious. You know, or our party, we don't want to be seen to be litigious. You know, we know that it was wrong for the matter to be referred to the Supreme Court in that way. And really, the argument that, you know, the law does not allow for, the Constitution does not allow the National Assembly to make such a provision, such a rule, it is patently wrong. After all, the Constitution says that the local government, you have local government dealing with the tenure. And when you cease to be a member of the party on whose ticket you were really elected, that would affect your tenure. So how can resignation, which affects tenure, how can that be validly be made by the National Assembly? But then the issue of really you rejecting the party on whose ticket you contested cannot now be validly legislated upon. You know, for me, it was a muddled and convoluted reasoning. You see, if we had, journals of law, legal journals here, the academicians will comment on these things to show the flaws. After all, they are just the lords of the Supreme Court. They are very educated person, but that does not mean that they cannot be wrong in their reasoning. It does not mean that they cannot be wrong in their conclusions, and that is why the academics always pick up these type of issues and deal with them. We're looking forward to the day, maybe, when a matter like this will come up again to the Supreme Court, in which maybe I could appear as an amicus, not defending UDP, but some other interested persons, a point of no interest in that. Now, with respect to the petition, when we filed the petition, I think we took all the precautionary steps. When we applied for the court to determine security. And that was done. And nobody would tell me that the Honorable Chief Justice did not know what he was doing. The Honorable Chief Justice certainly knew what he was doing when he ordered cost to be in the sum of $300,000 and further ordered that is by way of deposit. And obviously, yeah, he did that because he must have read the rules before he made such an order. But now, to say that, you should have served. You should have served the other person. I think the whole purpose of service is to ensure whether the security to be provided is sufficient or insufficient. If the respondent thought that security was insufficient, I think the right thing would have been for them to apply for it to be reviewed and for them to ask for a higher amount of money, a higher sum of money. Because it's at least, is to make sure that they are not left high and dry when it comes to recovering their expenses in the litigation. That's the whole purpose and intention. So really, if you are minded to do substantial justice, the purpose of all this, that's what you look at. And we knew that. And we strongly believe, and I strongly believe that the court was wrong. And we had applied for review. I said, well, we are not going to change our mind. We will maintain what I've stated. That's okay. But then again, I'm sure when we held our press conference and pointed out what the present evidence that would have been placed before the court, I'm sure a lot of them must have felt very bad. That really we should have allowed this petition to go on so that we hear the substance in this matter.
Why did you, it was more like trial by the media. You wanted the Gambian people to know what happened, and you took it to the media, you gave it to them to consume it, and you spent so much time on that. A lot of observers say UDP is spending so much time on this to the point that they have even forgotten the National Assembly election. Why was that important?
Well, we didn't forget the National Assembly election. Contrary, that's what people tell. Why didn't we forget the National Assembly election? I mean,
was that a strategy?
Since the results were declared, you know, we knew that there was a National Assembly election coming on, and our concentration was on that. I mean, UDP is such a big party, you know. Some individuals will deal with certain issues, other individuals will deal with certain issues, you know. And this was a very important matter to us, because you know, I'm sure most of part people, so we have to come out and say, look, it is not Nancy killing. If it's not Nancy Fuller, if it's not Nancy Woolly killing, it is Woolly Tanglu. Huge amount of money. It's not only that, but even the registers, you know, we are cheating. And we have to show the Gambian people so that they know that, you know, we didn't go to court because we are just being litigious. We went to court because we believed that the elections was not won according to the law. We went to court because that there was a bad register, a rogue register that was used. And of course, we also believe that on precedent, what the law is called on precedent, that in the 1960s, when Muhammad Sabali took Ian Kokil, the administrator of the North Bank, who was then resident in Masakonko, to court and challenged the register of the register of voters, yeah, that it was not properly compiled, that it was an illegal register. I mean, the West African Court of Appeal agreed with the petitioners and declared the register of voters throughout the protectorate then invalid. And certainly, if we had gone to trial with all this registration after the period, with all the registration after the time, and then we in fact, we had even served, was filed, that the IEC should produce, you know, the data, you know, which would show all these things. Yeah? Then the court would have declared that certainly it would have no choice but to say that the register of voters was really bad. It was not done according to law.
And during the different press statements that was made, at some point the party also accused the IEC of, you know, conniving with the NPP at some point. I have not seen any press statement from the IEC to deny those allegations, even though they had an interview with the Standard newspaper. But do you still stand by that?
Well, yes, I do. I remember that the IEC, I think their communication officer, they said this is just a distraction. They just dismissed it away and said it's a distraction. But, I mean, we had the documents to show them. And nobody said that those are false. Nobody said that we made them up. And I'm sure, you go to their database, you find tons of that in it.
So the accusation here was really serious, registering non-Gambians. I think every single Gambian should be worried about that. Because
well, I'm not saying registering non-Gambians.
Yeah.
I'm saying that, in fact, registering people, they could be Gambians.
Some people, okay.
Outside
the registration period.
Outside of the registration period, outside of registration hours. They could be Gambians. And it doesn't matter if you are a Gambian, you should not be registered after the 11th of July. It does not matter, even if you are a Gambian, you should not be registered after 5 p.m. Nor should you be registered before 8 a.m. So it doesn't matter whether you're a Gambian or a non-Gambian.
And one thing I want to also bring on was right after the election, there was little political tension that happened. Do you think if you have handled it differently, what would have been the outcome? A lot of your supporters, usually what they do is come to your home, whether good or bad. And they were there right after the election, when the election was declared and you lost. They came to show solidarity. The aftermath was really ugly. Do you think if you had handled it differently, it would have been bad for Gambia?
Well, I say if I had acted irresponsibly, as the state through its police agents had, Gambia would still be reeling in the after effects of that. It would have been very devastating. And certainly, just as I told the young people, I pointed out at one particular young man. He was very agitated, and I said, look, I'm sure you are not married. I want you to leave to be able to raise up a family so that you and your family can do well for our country.
How difficult was that? These were men who always come to you, good or bad. At this point, you had to tell them to leave. Alta Dro. How difficult was that?
Well, it was difficult, but it is in difficult circumstances that you really have to take difficult decisions. And of course, the way you communicate that decision, I think matters a lot. Because before I addressed them, I just came on and started singing Ali Fonsaji.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I mean, to really ease them off. You know, for them to say that, hey, you see, but we have to do that.
Yeah.
You don't come and make statements that will spoil them, that will make them, you know, do what you do not intend. And I have always said, and I mean it, that I don't want even a hen or a cock to die, to be killed in any political activity, other than if it's for entertainment. Much more, people losing their lives. I don't want any Gambian life to be lost in any political turmoil, and I will not be a cause for that. I have always told them that the man who brought me up, Kerr Fatou, led opposition in this country, and he never allowed his people to get into violence. I have learned from him. He brought me up. I have learned that from him. And I've also learned it from my father. That, you know, violence, you know, in politics is of no use to anyone. In fact, it's a disservice to the people you want to serve. Imagine if on that day I had asked the chapter that, look, we will not accept this. Let us do this, let us do that. A few lives would have been lost. And I don't think I'll be able to live with that for the rest of my life. But the police have not reciprocated. They acted irresponsibly. Fatou Mboj, as I talk to you now, she's suffering. He is going through agony. I mean, you know, she gets visits by, people from same sex with her. They see her, you know, and it's really bad. And I was shocked that the Inspector General of Police does not find it reasonable for them to come to apologize, but to try to really justify such acts of brutality. I think really is unpardonable. It's unacceptable. We want to be responsible. They want to be responsible. We will not allow their irresponsibility to really determine our own course of action. We will not allow that. This country is too precious for us for that. It's too precious.
When you hear the Inspector General of Police recently, when confronted at the National Assembly about that incident, especially throwing tear gas at your resident and on tear gas on supporters, said they were in acts of, I don't know, I don't want to misquote him, but basically what we're saying they were doing, it was in line of what they were doing their job.
If they are, well, okay, doing their job, I accept that they're doing their job. What they know is to brutalize ordinary citizens. That's their job. So if he says that we are doing their job, it doesn't surprise me. That is what they've been trying to do, to brutalize ordinary Gambians, ordinary citizens. People who were there really enjoying themselves. In fact, they were not involved in anything. I didn't hear them say that they should disperse or read any proclamation to them for them to disperse. If that was done 3 times that then it becomes a riotous gathering. But that was never done. I'm really disappointed that a person of Mr. Ablaye, a man I had enormous respect for before that day, that he could go to the National Assembly and make such statement is really, for me, very telling of what our institutions are and what our service officers can do just to satisfy their political masters. Can do and say to satisfy their political masters. It's really, I'm really surprised.
Would you say we all failed in the security sector reform because it was meant to address things like this? How police and security officers control protesters. It's only in Gambia that whenever people protest, somebody either die or somebody is seriously malhandled by the police. And when the new government came, all of you included, the security sector reform was center stage. It was supposed to be what is supposed to hold the government true, because that is why we decided to change government, because people were malhandled, people were arrested, people were killed, their rights were abused. If we see things like that continuing up to now, is it because we all failed in addressing the security sector reforms properly?
Well, we all, I'll use the word, I'll agree to use the word we all,
yeah,
in the context that, this is what Gambians voted for.
Yes.
And that everyone made it on his or her own business to ensure that there's reform in the security sector. But barring even security sector reform, the report on the Faraba Bantan incident, the recommendations made by the commissioners, is sufficient guide to the police how to handle such situations. That was just a few years ago. In fact, not 5 years, not even 5 years.
Yeah.
So the police saying that they do not understand the content of that report, or they do not understand the recommendations made by the commissioners in that inquiry, or they say that they have not read it, or they are just being they are just being awkward not to accept their fault. After all, if you want to really say disperse the people in the streets, you throw the tear gas where the people are in the street. Why do you have to throw the tear gas into my house? Why do you have to throw tear gas into my house? What happens in my house, my private residence, I mean, you cannot consider to be riot, because that's not a public place. That's a private home. Why do you have to throw tear gas in then? And then you have an officer who stands there with temerity, relishly saying that, well, he was happy that we have done this to UDP and I'll do it again. And still he continues to wear our uniform. And then the Inspector General of Police couldn't answer honestly to say that that person was still in the service. He was just telling the National Assembly members what could happen. But has that happened to these particular officers? Another officer holds his gun and says he'll be happy to shoot at UDP supporters. And you still may retain those people. You don't need security sector reform really to address those situations. You need a responsible leadership to deal with that situation. discharge him from your force and set an example to others that your force, the force that you command, is a political force. It is a force that operates without consideration for any political party's strength or any political affiliation. Well, it shows how the thinking, what the thinking was, in the government itself. Didn't we see Alkali Conte on video? We relish to say, well, this is an insult. And of course, the president heard that. We have never heard the president reprimand Alkali Conte. In fact, he gets a promotion, as I understand he's going to Turkey as ambassador. So he gets a promotion for really being disrespectful to us, for really making us feel angry. Because those are the sort of things. Because when my supporters, the young ones, when they hear this sort of things, they cannot accept them. But again, we have made them to learn, our supporters. We have made them to accept that Gambia is too precious for us. So that statements by irresponsible people like Alkali Conte will not make them put this country on fire.
To those who say, though, whenever your party militants come in contact with the police, there's always an issue. The incident that happened at the nomination of Honorable Sabali at Brikama also, people were really malhandled by the police.
Well, if the NPP leadership believes that, then they must be very dishonest. They have been part of the UDP, in the executive of the UDP, and they know the chemistry of UDP. Violence is not known to UDP. Violence is not known to UDP at all. We eschew violence. No, on that day, on the 4th or 5th, I had every opportunity. But no, we will not. Even in Jamaica, I had every opportunity, but no, we will not. See? Those people, the police, they think that they are doing service to their political masters if they really malhandle UDP supporters in any way. It was in Jammeh's time, and then it continues now in Barrow's time. The gentleman, you see 6 officers, how they hold him down. Look, they had handcuffs, just 2 officers who just control and put him in handcuffs. But they felt that no, we should really brutalize him and let the whole world know that we are really supporting the institution, we are really supporting the government. Yeah? Probably some of them have got promotions for what they have done. I'm not too sure. Maybe they have got promotions for that. But because, how can you have one person, you've seen the statute of the man, he may be strong, but then 6 PRU, paramilitary officers, handling him. I think that was just too much.
UDP is not the only political opposition party. Why is it that it's always UDP and the establishment?
Because the establishment felt that UDP is the threat to them. UDP is the one that really throw them out of power. So we really have to do things that will keep them away. We really have to intimidate them. We really have to instill fear in them. And since 2015, UDP says no more fear.
Are you intimidated?
Me?
Are you on your team intimidated?
Not certainly. No. Since 2015, UDP has been no fear, no more fear. And there will be no more fear, certainly not. We are not intimidated. No, and we will never be intimidated.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about the National Assembly. I mean, a lot of people said UDP went to coma after the presidential election. President Barroco, and everyone thought it's going to be a landslide. And I remember, I think I hosted, because we were hosting series of people, and my last interview before the election was with Honorable Sekou Marong, and he made a prediction in my show, I think, Nale, UDP deputy Lul Fonso Fatou ya Katale.
And he has become the casualty.
And me and so many other people were really surprised with what UDP polled, because I think...
And Maro is Maron is the worst casualty.
And you,
of you,
I wanted to come there because
of UDP's coma, state of coma. He has been the worst casualty of it.
you were so pleased with the 5 NAMs that, you know, the NAMs that lost. It seems like for you, for the UDP, I don't, your party militant, what I saw online, if everybody had won, only those 5 people, Sekuba, Jaju, Marong, Baba Gale, and Alaji Jawara and Famra, if those people had only lost, it was more like a victory. That's what I saw online. Why were you guys?
Not really. Not really. We really want. I mean, in fact, our own prediction was for more than 15. More than 15 seats. You know, we are grossly disappointed with Jara West, Jara East, Badibu, and of course, you
won Badibu?
No, lower, up above, Ilyasa constituency.
Ilyasa, yes.
And of course, I mean, Upper Flado West. You know, we were and Sandu. Sandu, we are very disappointed.
Yeah, it was close. Yeah,
we are very disappointed with those. For those constituencies. Yeah, but you see, we were not happy for the loss by Maron and the others because they had to come from UDP. No, that was not the reason why we're happy about it. But you see, if you watched throughout, then there was the campaign, they could hardly hear Abdoulaye Cissé, the current majority leader, could hardly hear him say anything disrespectful about me, about UDP. The same with Omar Darboe, because his family would not allow it. Even his family would not allow it. Baba Gale was virtually mute, he was virtually dumb.
He was not saying anything,
You know? But Lower Badibu, Talinding, Busumbala, you know, there are four of them.
And Marong,
Latrikunda. And Marong, of course, was their captain. They were very insolent, very disrespectful, very demeaning, their statements. So, for them, if those were only seats we won, we would have been the happiest.
Was it the reason why you invested more in those areas to win those seats?
Well, we never wanted them to go back to the National Assembly. The only one we failed in was, of course, Talinding, because the president, contrary to good practices, nominated a person who has been rejected by the electorate as not being fit to represent them in National Assembly. This couldn't have happened under the 1970 Constitution, because there's provision in that Constitution that if you contest in an election, the constituency, and you lose, the president could not nominate you to be a nominated member of the National Assembly. And that is the best practice, that's the good practice. I think that is what ought to happen. You know? But we, the electors, have made their point in Talinding. They've made their point that she will not represent them. She is not fit to represent them. And that verdict stands. And in fact, maybe next National Assembly elections, if she tries again, the defeat would even be worse.
So why do you think you were able to get the entire, to deny the NPP of getting a single seat in the entire, just one seat from Banjul to Fonyi? Why do you think you were able to do that? What was the strategy?
Well, we reached out to the people. We really reached out to the people. And of course, the false campaign strategy of the NPP could not hold for National Assembly elections. You tell them that if Ousainu Darboe wins, you Wolofs, he's going to throw you away. You are all going back to Senegal. You Wolofs, you are all going back to Casamas. Fulans, you are going back to Guinea. Yeah? Of course, you know, you cannot say that, you know, if Madi Cissé wins, he will send all the Wolofs and all the Jolas back to their constituencies. You cannot say that. And more, what was more? Yeah? President Barrow invested a lot of money in his own elections. And with others, he didn't care about them. And he will continue not to care about any other elective office. He will not care for them as he did care for his own for his election. But there are other things that we did, which we will not say because we are going to employ those means for the local government elections. So we will not disclose what other things that we did.
Now, you always campaign that LRR was your fixed deposit.
Absolutely.
Your fixed deposit, is going away.
It's going away.
It's going away.
It's going. But let me tell you that.
Why do you think?
Why
do you think though? Because to be honest, LRR has been your Kemeseng, Jammes. It has always been your area.
Yeah, we lost because our people didn't go out to vote. Yeah, they felt that in the presidential elections, they voted, and their votes were not counted. And they felt that the same thing was going to happen to them. If you take a place like Sanquia, where our candidate comes from, his own, not only his own, but his own compound. His own compound. A lot of people didn't go out to vote. And his own town, Sanquia. So there was general voter apathy. So people didn't go out to vote. And because they felt that even if we did, our votes will not be counted. So it would have been a wasteful exercise, a futile exercise. And they now regret it. And they are saying, Alaman Sorasi Mayala, Alaman Balula, where area council election. So that will show that our fixed deposit will go back.
You think it will go back?
It will go back.
Okay. We're a few months into that.
Well, it will go
few
back.
months into that.
Yes,
LRR landing Bisane.
Landing Bisane is just waiting for the polls to be open for his re-election.
Really?
Honestly, he's just waiting for his re-election. Yeah.
Now, as we speak, the UDP is almost controls the local government. Banjul, KM, West Coast Sirifo. Are you going to uproot Sirifo?
Well, he has already uprooted himself. How?
He's still the chairman. I'm sure he's going to stand for the NPP because he's the camp to the NPP.
You think so?
Well, I'm thinking so.
Well, I hope President Barrow doesn't. No, and seriously,
yeah.
When I'm more serious, I hope President Barrow doesn't do so, because for such offices, you need men of high moral character, of high moral integrity. I mean, you've seen the audio, making circles around.
But then a lot of us blame UDP for that. Let me come. I'm from West Coast. If anything, but that's why politicians are supposed to vet candidates. Yeah. That's why you have all the time to vet these candidates. If anything happens to Sirifo, people of West Coast blame UDP because you gave him to us.
People of West Coast cannot blame UDP.
Why? Because he ran under your ticket.
Because it is the people of West Coast who went to primary. It's not that the UDP executive selected him. They went to primary, and the people of West Coast gave themselves him. And of course, at that point, we cannot. We would always believe that he's a man of very high moral character, impeccable. With impeccable moral integrity. I hope that President Barrow, will really not think of allowing NPP to really get him sponsored.
Are you advising NPP now?
No. I'm seriously. I mean, seriously, because really, if it were in some other jurisdiction, some other country, he would have resigned. Pressure would have been brought on him by his party to resign. If it was UDP, if any of our chairman or even councillors is found to have been involved in such moral turpitude, we'll force him to resign from the council or resign from the party. And if he doesn't resign from the party, we'll expel him. We cannot continue to hold such office, such high office of repute, and then get involved in such moral turpitude. Flirting with people's wives. It's unthinkable. Please, I'm sure President Barrow will say that Tonya be informed moment for you to Tonya I think so. I think he'll do that.
Plenty people because y'all know for say a candidate or win. But I see a lot of people coming out from your party. As we speak, I think I've seen over 7 people trying to, join the race for the West Coast. So it seems like that's the only area actually that is going to go on primaries because Banjul, you have a sitting mayor and KM. So West Coast.
Well, Kuntaur Area Council.
Oh, Kuntaur Area Council, yes, Kuntaur Area Council.
Yeah.
But how important is Brikama to UDP?
Well, Brikama is very important to us. That is why we concentrate on it in the National Assembly elections.
Oh yeah. And you won.
It is important to us.
You won all the seats.
Yes. And that position of prominence, of eminence, we continue to recognize, and we will certainly guard jealously, our gains there, to make sure that they are not dissipated.
Okay, now, you just mentioned that it was because of primaries that the people of West Coast got ourselves Sirifo. Now, again, we have seen a number of candidates coming. Can you promise us that this time UDP, whoever UDP puts out, is going to be fit for leadership?
I can assure you that. In the last National Assembly elections, we didn't go for primaries in the constituencies where we didn't have candidates. Applications were brought in. Through the regions, to the national executive, and to the selection committees, and we went through, examined all the applicants, interrogated them, and came to conclusions that Mr. Y is the rightful candidate. In fact, in Kiang West, we had about 13 candidates. All of them very eminent persons, very educated, young, with lot of good vision, all of them. But then we had to settle for one, and all the others accepted that. And we are going to do the same thing for this chairmanship elections for those regions where we do not have sitting chairmen or sitting mayors. And of course, you can see that the number of people that show interest in Brikama Area Council validates the fact that UDP is the party. The party that I say is dying. Dying parties don't get so many people get interested in it. And of course, all the people who have applied or who have shown interest are persons that have with high moral character. I know, in fact, most of them I know personally. Abdul Darboe, he was in the race with President Adama Barrow.
Yes.
For 2016 presidential elections. Mr. Bojang, Jame Bojang, well-respected person in the Combo North and West Coast in general. And Ousainu also, well-respected person in the Brikama community. All of them that have shown interest.
Can be the youth leader.
There's Barry,
Yeah.
Madam Barry,
Yes.
from the US.
From the US.
I talk to her occasionally on the phone. So they are all, and of course, we have our former protocol officer to UAE,
Yes, Tuku Jallo.
Tuku Jallo. So I think they're all good candidates.
And I see young Darboe was also floating. I don't know how true that is also. It's going to be interesting.
Yes.
It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. What we know is that, we'll produce, the best candidate for West Coast region. So that that council, the potential that it has, will be realized. Yeah. It will not be a dormant council, because the leadership of the council is always dictates whether it will be an active, a result-producing council, or it will be a dormant council.
Now, talking about the chairmanship and mayor's election, KMC Banjul. Recently, the mayor of Banjul, Rohimalik Low Yodoro, was elected president of Rafela, which we all celebrated because it's a Gambian success story. Today, as I speak to you, she's in New York. She just got a scholarship, 1 year scholarship package from Harvard. 1 year, yes, and she's doing the 4 days training first, which will be done online. She's making us so proud. She's making the entire Gambia proud as first elected mayor. I've always said this, the leadership of women is very important, especially in the United Nations circles, and she's making us proud. But then, if she loses her position as mayor of election, it affects mayor of Banjul, it affects her presidency at Rafela. What is UDP doing to make sure she gets re-elected, and also the KMC mayor? You said that was the best moment for you. Why was that the best moment for you? But also, what is the party doing to make sure she retains her seat?
Well, her election as president of Rafela Africa, for the African region, was the best moment for her, because it exposes our mayor globally to the world as a person who has done a lot in Africa among her peers to gain their confidence to be elected to such a position. And it's a great moment for us because she comes from a UDP home. It's a pride that UDP shares with her. If it was another person, for another political party, we would really be congratulating the person, because the person is a Gambian. But that will be all. We will not take it a step further. Well, for Lord Mayor Rohimalik Low, the international recognition, the global recognition, particularly in Africa, first as a Gambian, and of course, her bed, her home, UDP, is what really took her to that global forum to be elected Rafela as president of Rafela. So that's really a great moment for us. It's one of the greatest events in the history of the United Democratic Party, because you will not write the history of the United Democratic Party and make that a footnote. It cannot be a footnote. It must occupy a position of prominence in the history of the United Democratic Party. In fact, it has made Rohimalik Low, more international than when she was just mayor of Banjul. It was something local. We celebrate her as being the first elected mayor of the city of Banjul. But now we celebrate her not only as being the first elected mayor of the city of Banjul, but also as the president of Rafela Africa region.
But are you worried that NPP will not allow a 2.0, what you did to them in the National Assembly? They will not allow it to repeat in the chairmanship.
We are going to do something worse than what we did in National Assembly election. I tell you, mark my word. After all, we are in July.
Yeah.
The elections are in May, about 8 months.
About
7-8 months.
Yeah.
We'll do to them worse than what we did to them in National Assembly elections.
Are you going to retain Banjul?
We will retain all our seats.
What has Talib done for you to think he should retain his seat in KM?
Well,
why are you laughing?
Because
is that a funny question?
Well, Well, it's not funny because I know you wouldn't ask funny questions, but I know that you are asking questions, the answer to which you already know, you know. But look, let us just put politics aside, partisan politics aside. What Mayor Bensouda did for KMC, no mayor from the time of Keba Jallo, because he's the one that I can recollect. Keba Jallo, like Conte, currently chairman of IEC, Mr. Njai, you know, Jibu Jany, all those people, I think it was Mr. Mendy, all those people put all their achievements together does not match up to what Talib has done in these few years. That's a fact that nobody can dispute. He has really raised up the standard and status of Kano municipality to a position that has never been. Just take one example. Yeah? Which mayor has ever thought of building a library in the municipality? Trying to inculcate in the children and inhabitants of the municipality a reading culture, a reading habit. He is the one. That alone is sufficient. No mayor has ever attempted to do that, and he has had other things, other plans. Yeah? He wanted to have land, you know, which could be used, you know, as a parking lot in the municipality. But because of some funny thinking, you know, in some ministers, they blocked him. Haven't you heard about his projects about 178,000 homes? Which mayor has ever thought about that? Just the thinking about it, the idea alone, coming up with the idea alone is a great achievement, because it shows that here's a mayor who has vision. Maybe he goes home, you know, after eating with his family, goes to a quiet corner, and then starts thinking, what next for my municipality? And in the process of that meditation, comes out with these wonderful ideas. Yeah? I mean, he has talked about a plan for a bus service in the municipality. Which mayor has ever thought about that? Yeah? If you don't want to vote for Talib, you don't want to vote for him because you are not UDP or because you do not want the interests of this municipality to be promoted. So you just want to have some henchman there, you know, who will be there using the country municipality as as the extension of the ruling party's political office. That is used to happen. So Talib has every reason to be elected, and we have every reason to be proud of him. That what he has done, no mayor, all these mayors that I've mentioned, all put together with all their efforts, cannot. Just look at even the street marking. Someone in Brikama wants to come to my house in Kotu. He just fixing the number and he drives himself here, just as he would in Washington. And there are many more, programs that Mayor Bensouda envisions and which he would want to really implement. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And in fact, on the handing over of the ballot project, the financier, the person who financed that project, spoke eloquently of his achievements, spoke eloquently of his dedication to his municipality, and his seriousness, and that is why he was even willing to put in $2 million. Businessmen don't put their money in anything Especially a businessman assured as Mr. Ja would not put his money into anything that is useless, anything that will not be beneficial to him and also to the project. Yeah.
And then can you say this for all of your mayors?
I can say that
and the chairmen.
I can say that for all of our mayors and chairmen. The point is that the mayor of the chairman in North Bank region, these are people, and I've asked them that now they must publicize
what they're doing.
They cannot just...
Because what we see is only Rohilo
yes.
and Chairman
yes.
and Mayor Bensouda, whose work is really visible. We have seen what Mayor Lowe has done in Banjul, but the rest we don't hear a lot from them.
Because they are quiet about them. Because they are quiet about the amount of work Danjo has done in URR.
Yeah.
Building bridges. If President Barrow built a 100-meter bridge, Danjo also has built a 40-meter bridge. Yeah. So, Salalo competition.
Well, you are.
And quite seriously, he is doing very good work in the area. Work that impacts on the lives of the ordinary people. That is what that is what people like Major Danger are doing.
Yeah.
Getting boreholes, getting roads, feeder roads, constructed, and so forth. But they don't get this purpose, and I have told them that you must get your PROs to really publicize all these things. Even get advertorials in the newspapers, and get your PROs to go to the media houses and talk about your projects and your achievements in the area, so that they know that you are not there sleeping. If Brikama Area Council had continued under the chairmanship of a UDP candidate, things would have been different, because you would see, relationships. And in fact, I'll tell you this, Mayor Bensouda has on several occasions volunteered to help his neighbors, so that they can also do something meaningful for their for their community.
You mean West Coast?
Well, I said their neighbors.
Oh, okay. Now you're saying, what you're saying is that you are going to maintain these local government.
Inshallah, we are going to maintain.
Now, Mr. Darboe.
And I tell you, our UD people, they are just waiting for the local government election, because the regret they have in this local government, in these National Assembly elections, they really want to remedy it. They want to remedy it.
Now, talking about that, we have seen now, after the National Assembly election, talks about reconciliation coming. You and your son, Mr. President, President Barrow, and of course you just mentioned that the leadership of NPP are from UDP, so you are all one and the same. Now, there have been talks, the former Vice President brought that conversation up, that he wanted to start reconciliation between you and your son. And recently, the President called you on Eid, and we saw it in the newspapers. And then the government spokesperson said, the President called you out of, because
magnanimity.
Yes, and he's interested in reconciling. In fact, you two are set to meet very soon. Now, when you meet with President Barrow, I think the last time Buba interviewed you, said the last time you spoke to the President, you saw him, I think, or spoke was at the Independence. Now, when you sit with Mr. President Barrow like this, like we are sitting, what is going to be the conversation?
Well, quite frankly, I wouldn't know. Quite frankly, I wouldn't know. But let me say, the people are saying reconciliation. You see, people who are at war are the ones who reconcile. For me, political rivalry does not mean animosity. We are just political rivals. So you shouldn't talk about reconciliation. Because reconciliation would really mean that, it's really, if I get him, I'll kill him. If he gets me, he'll kill me.
Would have been tense moments, though.
Tense moments, not tense moments that are geared towards destroying one and all. So I believe that this political rivalry that is between the parties, not only UDP and NPP, but all other political parties in this country. You cannot consider that rivalry of having reached a level that needs reconciliation, that needs mediation. I don't think it does. But I think in the normal course of things, the head of government in any country, any head of government who thinks maturely in any country would always want to consult with the opposition, particularly in the context of the Gambia, an opposition as strong as UDP, an opposition that has very big muscles in the legislature. You would certainly want to talk with them. That's normal. I am not aware that I'm scheduled to meet with President Barrow anytime the spokesperson put it. I'm not aware of that. Maybe he knows. But there's only one thing really what I want to say with that call, which I also don't think is anything strange. I don't think it's anything that is out of extraordinary. Yeah. I have, I think 2 correctors ago, I have called Fabakar Tomo. And of course, the relationship between UDP and APRC is so bitter. But nonetheless, I called him. And I also called all other political leaders. But that is what our religion calls for. On a day like that, you should reach out to colleagues. And of course, for me, reaching out to any of my colleagues on such a day doesn't mean that I am compromising my position or I will compromise my position. It doesn't mean that at all. And so of course, if I do that, I don't consider it as an act of magnanimity, as the spokesperson wants to show. Look, you want to take your boss to the laundry to clean him? That's not the way to do it. We know what would have been an act of magnanimity? When I had this accident in Kayaf, when I was in my sick bed, if he calls, that would have been an act of magnanimity. When my brother died, whom he knew very well, alive, because they were at Kairaba when we were in jail. Every day they would be at Kairaba together. When he died, if he called or sent somebody to express his condolences with the family, that would have been an act of magnanimity. I don't think the spokesperson really knew or understands what acts constitutes acts of magnanimity. This one, and I don't think the president asked him to say so. This cannot be an act of magnanimity. Just a phone call. What do I gain from it? What favor is being done to me? You are magnanimous a person because the person you are acting to is gaining something from what you are doing or from what you are saying. What do I gain from it? What is magnanimous about that? I think really spokesperson, now that he's also holds the political, some political position, I think they should look of a better way of laundering President Adam Barrow to make him look good. But this one, not this one. Oh.
Are you looking forward to meeting him, though? Are you looking forward to meeting the president?
Well, I certainly do not know whether I'm going to meet him as president of the Gambia or as leader of NPP.
Or as your son? Maybe as your son.
So I don't. So it depends in what context. That would make me really excited. That would make me excited whether I'm going to be as my son or whatever. But look, whatever happens, shouldn't be anything that is strange, and nobody should look at it as consider it as something extraordinary. That, in my own opinion, these are things that happen, routinely. If I really have cause to really talk to President Barrow on anything, I will just call the chief of protocol and say, look, can you fix an appointment for me? I want to see the president. I want to talk to him about this particular issue. I would do so. I mean, without really feeling that I'm doing him, an act of magnanimity. Certainly, I'll do that. But since the spokesperson has said that there's a meeting in the offing, we want to wait and see. Yeah,
when and how.
When that is going to happen.
Okay, now let's talk about the situation of the country. What is your assessment of the new government? It's been six months into office.
Well, in the first place, I am disappointed that I have new ministries created. I am not sure whether there has been any budget line for these new ministries. Of course, if not, we are looking forward, for a supplementary appropriation bill to brought in so that the expenses, the expenditure, personal emoluments, and all other wherewithals that is needed for setting of these new ministries can take place. I would have thought that the ministry, I think they call it public service affairs.
Public service, yeah.
I would have thought that I would put that portfolio under the vice president, so that the vice president, would have full time dealing with civil service matters with the PM. Because, in fact, I believe in the First Republic, the vice president was in charge of civil service matters. Whatever nomenclature you give it now, however, how sounding the name might be, it still will be dealing with the public service. Put it under the office of the vice president. And if you think, really, it's going to be additional burden, have two very efficient deputy permanent secretaries to assist the permanent secretary. The Minister for Digital Economy, I mean, really, I'm not sure how this is going to operate with the Minister of Finance. But I certainly would have put such an expertise unit within the Ministry of Finance so that it helps the Minister of Finance formulate policy on digital economy rather than having a stand-off Minister of Economy. That's what certainly I would have done. And indeed, I would also have thought bringing back both the Minister of Higher Education and Basic Education as one minister. So, what is the population of this country? Small. I mean, just one Minister of Education to take care of both the higher education ministry, and the higher education institutions, tertiary institutions, as well as basic and secondary school education. It could be done. We would save cost. And if it's efficiency that you are talking for, you can have efficient people, working in those ministries as permanent secretaries. Like I tell you, if you combine higher education and basic and secondary education, you have another permanent secretary as committed and as competent as the current permanent secretary for basic and secondary education, I mean, it will be fine. It will really be fine. So I think, really, for me, that was a bad way of taking off. When we are talking of really reducing the number of ministries, that should be the thinking, and not increasing the number of ministries. You know? But I don't know what informed President Barrow's decision on that. I don't know who actually advised him on that. You know? And other things that I see that is being pushed, this University of Science and Technology, well, we already have problems funding the University of the Gambia in terms of accommodation, in terms of scholarships, in terms of adequate remuneration for the lecturers. Why do you create another university? I would have thought that you would have within the University of the Gambia a College of Science and Technology or Faculty of Science and Technology. You know? So all these brilliant ideas they are talking about, University of Science and Technology, could really be achieved by that college or by that Faculty of Science and Engineering without really overburdening the government with expenses. Because you have a vice chancellor, you have chancellors, lecturers, professors in that university. The financial implications is enormous. And it can, because you might not be able to meet up what is expected of you, and the standard that you want to achieve would not be achieved, and it will remain, it will be a colossal failure. I know that the current vice president, when he was Minister for Education, he talked about this in cabinet, and I said, look, we don't think we need this. We think we really need to, strengthen the University of the Gambia, give them what they want, funds that will be using to build up this university, pump it into the University of the Gambia, put all this as constituent parts of the University of the Gambia. And I think that would have been more efficient, more cost-saving. I know the current Minister for Higher Education, he was at the UTG.
Yeah.
He knows the constraints.
Yeah.
He knows the problems. Maybe he can have a rethink so that we'll achieve what we want, to have well-groomed, well-trained engineers, well-trained technologists, people who are advanced in technology from the University of the Gambia, and yet the expenses, would not be as huge as it would be with a separate university.
Now, finally, your critics say 25 years as party leader, contested 5 times, still party leader and secretary general. When are you going to, how do you say it? Hang the gloves and hand over the party to hand over the party. Is that ever going to happen?
Hang the gloves.
Is that ever going to happen?
That's what I stop punching.
Yes. You will still be punching, but you will slow down the punching. Leave it to the commandos and others.
Yes. Now, in December, in December we are going to Congress.
December
we are going to Congress. The party would choose what they want.
What they want.
In the first instance, in 1996, I didn't impose myself on the party. In fact, my own situation is quite different from many other political leaders in this country. President Barrow created a party and made himself the party leader. Yeah? Other parties also did the same thing, created party and made themselves party leader. I did not make myself party leader. They are looking for a party leader, and then they came and took me. Now, when we go to Congress, and of course, the Congress decides. And Fatou, quite frankly, I have always believed that when time is up, even if you don't want to give up, time will give you up. Even if you don't want to give up, time will give you up.
That's a clear.
Yeah.
That message. Should your people be worried that you're packing up?
No. My people should not be. My people will not and should not be worried. Because I've always said that you have, hundreds of good leaders in the party, both in here and in the diaspora. Men of impeccable character, well educated, well principled, very patriotic. Have them. And certainly, I believe that a great number of them could do better than myself as leader of the party. I certainly believe that.
The fear, though, I want to come in. The fear, though, among your party militants is that so many people want to be leader of the party. So many people aspire. That could break the party up if that ever comes. A lot of people say this is the reason why you guys never even want to try it, because UDP Darboe town, people are scared of the uncertainty. But then this is the fear. There are so many people who believe can lead. There are so many people who want to lead, and a lot of them want to lead.
Yeah.
And that the possibility of breaking up the party.
Yeah. Okay. First, let me say one thing, that UDP is my legacy. I certainly wouldn't want to see my legacy destroyed. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But we must also accept the fact that a party such as United Democratic Party, you'll see many people who would want to lead it. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And that speaks very well for our party. It is because of the position of the party in the country, its core values, that has made it attractive to all these young people that we are talking about. So it should not be a surprise if 10 people want to become leaders of the United Democratic Party in December this year. What have we seen in the United Kingdom?
Yeah.
How many people started off?
How many candidates?
How many candidates started off? Have many candidates started off? Yeah. This and of course, one thing that also people do not appreciate is that being leader of the United Democratic Party does not make you automatically presidential candidate for the United Democratic Party.
Yeah.
It doesn't. So you could be leader of the party and yet not be its presidential candidate.
We might see a scenario like that?
Huh?
Might we see a scenario like that?
But I would not rule out anything. I would not rule out anything. The only thing that I want to say, which I emphasize, and I did emphasize it, to members of our party, both executive and the central committee, that the legacy of the party, my legacy, we really want. I got that very jealously.
You got that very jealously.
Very jealously.
Now that we are 7 months to elections, you are not campaigning that much. What are you doing? Congratulations on your newest grandson, Baba Jr.
Oh yes, Ousainu.
Are you spending time with him?
Well, I now have to find time with all my grandchildren.
I remember when we had the interview, you said what you regretted most during the documentary was not spending time with your kids. Now that you have some time, what are you doing?
I didn't spend time with my Numukunda. I didn't spend time with Fenda, Nafisatu, Yama, Yadam. I didn't spend time with them. For what I lost in them, I want to find compensation to my grandchildren.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Ousainu has come, So we'll start hanging out together very soon.
Wow. Wow, great. It was great talking to you after 7 months, and I'm sure the viewers also. I've seen a lot of people say, Fatou recommend about to major follow there, but I wanted to let you rest and feel good. So when I saw you at the Dream Park yesterday, at the village, at the tropics, I'm like, okay, it's about time I sit down with him. Now that, you know, he's doing all these things and hanging out as well. So, you know, it was great seeing you look good and you know, healthy.
Fatou, you know, I didn't realize that I was losing so much. Really. For me, when I went to the tropic, I thought I saw myself in a different world. Yeah. You know, it was pipeline, go to pipeline. Sometimes you go to Dipakunda for christening, you go to Brikama, marriage ceremony, and this type of things. Yeah? But really, I didn't know that there was that world there. Yeah? And certainly, I'll certainly make it a habit that at least every month I go out to one of those days. When I saw
the picture, I'm like, what is he doing at the village though? That was my comment. I think I made a comment on Ousainu Darboe's post. I'm like, but what is he doing at the village? Yeah. But yeah, I think a lot of people, you know, being your partisan or non-partisan, people were really happy seeing you and just meeting with ordinary Gambians. That was good. What's your final message to the Gambians?
Well, my final message to the Gambians is that let us try to ensure that our national cohesion remains intact, our national unity remains intact. We hold different views, but just as I said on Korite Day and on Tobaski Day, now look at us here in this congregation. No one is thinking of himself as UDP, NPP, DOI, or otherwise. But we are all thinking ourselves as Muslims united, Gambian Muslims united. And that the following day, which would have been Sunday, when you go to the churches, it's the same thing you find there. The congregation, you know, none in the end of the congregation in the churches, none would regard themselves as UDP, NPP or otherwise, but they consider themselves as Gambians united by their religion. Yeah. So we should also be thinking that way. We are Gambians, and that when we meet, we should talk about things that will promote national unity. We shouldn't get ourselves involved in discussions that draws us apart, that causes polarization. We shouldn't. So let us be unifying. Each and every one of us, I think we have that responsibility. Let us all be unifying. And let us also be guarded in our statements so that, you know, we do not say things that will really shock other people, make them feel bad, and make their reactions really horrible. I think we shouldn't be engaging in those type of things. So this is our Gambia, as I say, for the Gambia, our homeland. Yeah. You know, that's it.
Thank you very much, Honorable Darboe, and I want to thank you once again for the opportunity to talk to you exclusively about everything that happened from the campaign to after the elections, and we want to thank you for always being accessible to us.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
And to my technical team, Fatila and Charles, thank everybody, Auntie Sally, for hosting us today. Today we are not in Kerr Fatou, we are at Kerr Darboe, Kerr Ousainu, and we want to thank my brother, Mamadou Sabali and Bubbling Media. Thank you very much. And if you're watching us and you want to, please send us stars, so that we can always come to these interviews and other interviews. If you send us stars indirectly, you are supporting the network. We want to thank you very much and see you next week with another political leader. Good night to you all. Bye-bye.
Better and stronger as the sole ground operator at the Banjul International Airport. With an expansion in travel services, customers are assured of GIA's capacity to cater for all their travel needs, provided by professional, experienced, and ever-smiling staff. GIA's Hajj package and services, by far the best in the country, give the customers the opportunity for a memorable Hajj experience. For a more efficient cargo services, GIA means business as it launches its new multi-million-dollar ultra-modern cargo complex to revitalize and stimulate air transport. GIA, the pride of the Gambia.
Every day is a new opportunity to make sure our first impressions are always our best and to see possibilities on the horizon. To make our facilities and services more accessible and find freedom all around us. With a location proximity to active markets, with a liberal air transportation policy. That daily pursuit is how we turn everyday opportunities for you. For all destination marketing support, customized packages for new existing airlines and operators, and for a highly ranked tourist destination, the Gambia Civil Aviation Authority is here to serve. We regulate air transport, operate and manage BIA technical requirements merged with commercial considerations. We have experienced and well-trained aviation professionals to cater for your needs. For investment opportunities in building airport hotels, shopping malls, playground for children, do contact us on 4472-831, 4472-893. Gambia Civil Aviation Authority. We go beyond daily.